Watership down is about survival and having the courage to solve problems. A group of rabbits are at Silflay, the Latin word that means to feed above ground. Two of these rabbits are named Hazel and Fiver. Both of them are brothers, and Fiver was given his name because he was born as a fifth kitten. While they're at Silflay, Fiver gets a premonition about the warren being covered in blood and obliterated. Hazel decides to take him to visit the Thera, Centerford Warren's chief rabbit. Thera tells them too that Fiver's predictions are false. Later that night, the brothers stumble upon a man-made sign that was put up to declare the Centerford Warren as building land for humans. This means that their home warren will soon be destroyed. Hazel believes Fiver's predictions and gathers rabbits to come leave their warren, including Bigwig and Silver, members of the Owlsla, or the Chief Rabbit's Guards. Other rabbits, including Dandelion, Bugthorn, Hawkbeak, Speedwell, Blackberry, and Pipkin, also leave their warren with Hazel and Fiver. When the band of rabbits prepare to leave their warren, two members of the Owlsla and Captain Holly try to impede their exit. Bigwig pounces on Captain Holly. After the scuffle, Hazel warns Captain Holly that he'll have to go back to the warren, or else they will kill him and the guards. Hazel and his band spend the next night sheltering themselves under a fern, where Hazel and Dan asks Dandelion to tell a story about El Herrera. El Herrera is the god of the rabbits in their folklore, and this story is about the creation of different animals. In the beginning, Frith created the stars by spreading his droppings. One of the stars was the world. He created the animals without any unique features, such as claws and feathers. They were all equal. However, the rabbit god El Herrera constantly breeded with other rabbits and overgrew his people's population. Frith warned El Herrera to control his people, but El Herrera didn't listen. To teach him a lesson, Frith said that he would be presenting gifts to all the animals in the land. He gave the birds the ability to sing, and the foxes and weasels claws and sharp teeth. After they were successful in killing all of El Herrera's children, they went after El Herrera himself. Frith showed up to bless El Herrera his gift, but instead found him hiding in a hole with his bottom sticking out. El Herrera refused to get out of the hole because he was afraid of the foxes and weasels would kill him. So he told Frith to bless his bottom instead. Frith did so and gave El Herrera the powerful legs that allowed him to run fast and avoid predators. This would leave the rabbit race with a lot of enemies out to kill them, so would always have to be on their feet. All the world would be your enemy, prince with 1,000 enemies, and when they catch you, they will kill you, but first they must catch you. After the story was told, the rabbits find out that there is a Lendry, or enemy around their general area. They reach a riverbank, and Fiver tells Hazel that they will have to swim across. Bigwig finds a dog in the distance that could come for the rabbits very soon, and he tells Hazel that swimming is the only way they can survive. Bigwig thinks that Fiver and Pipkin, who can't swim, should stay behind, but Hazel disagrees, believing that he is responsible for the two rabbits. Luckily, Blackberry finds a piece of flatwood that Pipkin and Fiver can float on, as the rest of the rabbits swim across the river. After they have crossed the river and made it to a field, Fiver and Pipkin are attacked by crows, but are saved by Bigwig. Both of them are unharmed for the most part, but Pipkin gets some thorns stuck in his foot. Later, they cross a road with cars to reach Newtown Churchyard. Fiver gives Hazel the idea that there are vast hills that they can build a warren on, and Hazel decides to find these hills. He takes Acorn, Hawkbeak, Bugthorn, and Pipkin with him, and they eventually come across these hills. They find the hill to have a dry surface, perfect for digging burrows and covered with heather flowers. Later that day, Hazel approaches a strange rabbit in the distance. The rabbit's name is Cowslip, and he tells Hazel and his friends about his warren, where there is no rabbit chief or Owlsla, and that all rabbits are equal. Hazel and his group go to Cowslip's warren, where they learn that the warren itself is shaped like a honeycomb. There, they meet another rabbit named Strawberry, who shows Hazel around the warren. A smaller rabbit named Silverweed shares a poem about a rabbit who joins the god Frith in the afterlife to all the rabbits around. Fiver becomes anxious from hearing the poem and scurries out of the warren, pushing into other rabbits. Hazel becomes angry with his little brother's behavior because Fiver made his friends look like bad guests in the new warren. Both Hazel and Bigwig end up finding Fiver sleeping under a yew tree, unusual for a rabbit, and Fiver shares his predictions about how something bad will happen, but he doesn't know what it is. They get annoyed by Fiver and leave him at the yew tree. Suddenly, Bigwig gets caught in a snare and has to be freed by Hazel, Blackberry, and Fiver. After removing the nail from the ground, they think he's dead because he's unresponsive. Luckily, he's okay, and stands up with blood dripping from his mouth and says that he'll kill Cowslip because Cowslip didn't warn them about snares. Wanting to avoid any more danger, they leave the warren and are accompanied by Strawberry, who says that he can help build their new warren. Hazel allows for this and lets Strawberry come. They finally reach a countryside called Watership Down, where they build a large warren under the roots of a tree, and name it the Honeycomb. After a couple of days in the warren, they begin to realize that they need to get does, or female rabbits, to procreate. When Bigwig, Hazel, Dandelion, and Speeble are on the lookout for kestrel birds, they find two injured rabbits from the Sandalford Warren, who left because a group of men gassed the rabbits there. This means that Fiver's predictions of the destroyed warren were true the whole time. The older rabbit turns out to be Captain Holly, the leader of the Owlsla, who tried to keep Hazel and Bigwig's rabbits from leaving their home warren. The other rabbit is named Bluebell, who is a member of the Owlsla. Captain Holly describes the story of how he and Bluebell barely escaped the burrows in the warren, since they were being clogged with dead bodies. After escaping, they encountered the warren of snares, where the rabbits there tried to kill them. This was how Captain Holly and Bluebell got their injuries. The next morning, Bigwig and Silver discover a large black-headed gull in a hollow, whose name is Kihar. Kihar has an injured wing and is told by Hazel they can live with the rabbits in the warren, and they can help heal Kihar's injury. In exchange for healing Kihar, Hazel gets Bigwig to ask Kihar to fly out to find any warrens with does, but Kihar only manages to find a place called Nothinger Farm. Around the same time, Hazel sends Captain Holly, Silver, Buckthorn, and Strawberry on a mission to find another warren with does. Hazel takes Bigwig, Dandelion, Blackberry, and Hawkbeak to Nothinger Farm so they may take the 4 does with them back to Watership Down. Once they hear the farmer's dog barking, the group runs off, with only 2 of the Nothinger Farm rabbits. Hazel and Dandelion go back to get the other doe, but as they do this, Hazel gets shot by one of the farmers and ends up hiding in a land drain. The next morning, Captain Holly and the others return to Watership Down, heavily languished from their journey, and tell everyone about the warren called Fraffa. Captain Holly says that rabbits there are bitten on either their chins or forepaws, and depending on where their scars are, they are grouped together to silflay at different times. One of the rules at a Fraffa is that rabbits are never allowed to leave the warren, and can be mutilated for even doing so. One rabbit who did this was Blackavar, who had his ears mutilated by the officers as punishment. Rabbits called sentries are tasked with chasing down rabbits who try to escape a Fraffa. The day after, Hazel is brought back to Watership Down by Fiver and Blackberry, where Kihar tends to Hazel's wound. The same day, Hazel proposes his plan to infiltrate a Fraffa and free all the does from the warren. The band approaches a woodland by means of getting closer to a Fraffa, but end up noticing a fox in the distance. The rabbits have a plan to send Bigwig to a Fraffa, and he would infiltrate the warren as an Fraffan officer. While there, he would lead a group of does and Blackavar with him to escape a Fraffa. There, Bigwig shadows Captain Shervil to learn about the rules of a Fraffa, and the positions of rabbits such as the Owlsla, sentries, runners, and members of certain marks. Later, he gets a Zenthly to meet him in his burrow, where he introduces himself and asks her about Captain Holly. Since they met each other, he explains that him and the rest of his band are planning to infiltrate Fraffa to free the does from the warren, and to use a bird, Kihar, to carry Bigwig's message over to the honeycomb. The next day, Kihar flies over, and Bigwig shares with Kihar their plan to run off with the does back to the honeycomb. After their meeting, Shervil walks towards Bigwig, and Kihar flies off and disappears in the trees. Shervil tells Bigwig that he'll have to report finding the gold since it is considered unusual. Later, Bigwig is asked to see General Windward, who warns Bigwig to never approach any unusual animals. This ruins their plans of escaping since Bigwig was not able to go in a hole in time for Kihar to attack the sentries. Kihar flies back to the honeycomb and tells Hazel about the failed plan, and Hazel promises to get Bigwig back himself. The next night, Bigwig is told by his Zenthly that the doe Nethelta has been arrested. This means that the Fraffan officers may know about Bigwig's plan, and he tells Zenthly to get the does in Blackavar ready for the leave tonight. Bigwig is told by Shervil to find Avens and tell everyone that there would be no silflay today because of the weather and Nethelta's arrest. When Bigwig approaches the entrance of the hole and finds Majorum, he lies to Majorum, saying that it is time for Blackivar's Silflay and to bring him and the guards up. Once the guards come up with Blackivar, Bigwig pounces on Bartzia, one of the guards, and breaks his haunch. Together with Blackivar, his Zenthli, Zithothaning, and other does, they run out of the hole and approach the fields. Bigwig tells the rabbits to run towards the ash tree hedge to avoid the Afrafan officers. It is raining hard now, and they reach a hedge where the Afrafan rabbits and General Woundwort stop them. As Woundwort is about to attack Bigwig, lightning strikes, and Kihar flies out and pounces on Woundwort. Just then, Silver, Blackberry, Acorn, and Bluebell show up to lead the does and Blackivar to the boat. The rope is held to the boat in place. It is becoming loose since Hazel was chewing on it. Bigwig and Dandelion are the last to get on the boat just as the rope snaps, leaving the boat full of rabbits sailing across the river during the rainstorm. During the boat ride, the space under the bridge becomes cramped, and the rabbits have to swim across the river to reach land. They also swim as a way to avoid any men passing over the bridge. Blackivar, Hazel, Fiver, and Silver are the first to approach the bank, and they all help the does get into the water to swim. Eventually, all the rabbits get off the boat and swim towards the bank. Tired from their adventure, the rabbits camp out near a fallen tree trunk. The next morning, Hazel finds out that one of the does has died, and that Kihar would be leaving them very soon, because the rabbits now have does to procreate. Kihar and the rabbits say their goodbyes, and the gull flies away, leaving them alone. Before the rabbits make their way up the beach hangar, they are approached by Captain Campion and the Afrafan Alsla. Hazel warns them to never come back, and they leave the other rabbits. Finally, Hazel and his group approach the honeycomb warren, where they find out that Clover has had kittens. Eventually, Hazel is told by Field Mouse that there are rabbits in the distance approaching the honeycomb. Hazel sends Captain Holly and Blackivar to see who the rabbits are. They come back to tell him that they made it face to face with Captain Campion himself, and that the rabbits are from Afrafa. To prepare for the attack, Hazel has the rabbits fill in the holes to the burrows as a way to protect the inner rabbits. He then goes to visit General Woundwort and says that the warren should not be fighting. Hazel wants to have peace, but General Woundwort sees Hazel's words as nonsense and warns him to return the does, Blackivar and Bigwig to him, or he'll kill Hazel's friends. Later that day, the Afrafan rabbits come and begin to dig to reach the honeycomb. Hazel sends Speedball to the north end of the honeycomb to listen to the digging. Meanwhile, Bigwig tells Silver and Captain Holly about his plan to fight for the Afrafans if they fall through the roof of the warren. Hazel has the idea of going back to the Nothinger farm for a surprise attack against the Afrafan invaders. At Nothinger farm, Hazel plans to release the farmer's dog out of its kennel. Because Dandelion's the fastest rabbit, he has Dandelion get chased by the dog so he can lead the dog to the honeycomb and attack the Afrafans. At the honeycomb, General Woundwort, Vervain, Groundsel, and a rabbit named Thunder fall through the roof and stumble upon Fiver. Fiver is unconscious, so the Afrafans leave him since they don't see him as a threat. As they walk through the ruins, Woundwort sends Groundsel and two other rabbits ahead to dig out any walls that have been filled with dirt recently. He and Vervain continue down the road, but Woundwort is attacked by Bigwig. Bigwig bites Woundwort's leg and delivers him 2 slashes to the face. Woundwort bites Bigwig's throat, and the two continue to claw and pounce at each other until Bigwig faints. Seeing Bigwig lying on the floor, General Woundwort and his officers exit the ruins and reach the surface. He checks out how the digging's doing above ground, but is interrupted when Captain Campion runs towards the honeycomb, screaming to the rabbits to run for their lives as a large black dog appears and attacks 2 of Fraffin's soldiers. General Woundwort stays behind and charges at the dog. It's unknown whether he survived or was killed. Meanwhile, Hazel gets attacked by a cat at Nothinger Farm, but is rescued by the farmer's daughter. They take him to a doctor and let her drop off the rabbit in Watership by car. The honeycomb and learns that the Afrafans lost the battle and retreated from the honeycomb. 6 weeks later, the rabbits are now settled in their warren. His Zenthli's litter have matured enough to play in the grass, and Bigwig becomes their trainer for them to join the Alsla. Clover and Vilthru, Fiver's mate, also have litters. Hazel grows old as he watches all the bucks and does thrive in his warren. Now, it is heavily populated by rabbits who will take up important tasks, like joining the Alsla or having litters. A long time later, Hazel sits in a field and is approached by a rabbit, who says that Hazel's time is up. learn that this is the Black Rabbit of Inle, the Grim Reaper of the rabbit's folklore, who's tasked with claiming dead rabbits. It's implied that Hazel dies of old age and goes with the Black Rabbit of Inle to the afterlife, enjoying his Al's love.